Hello and welcome back to the show. So, I'm really excited for today's guest on the show because he is a true international real estate coach, and he is none other than Mr. Taco Heidinga, a real estate coach of over 20 countries, and also the founder of Propcoach International. So, Taco has had nearly 2 decades of experience in real estate and is based in Malaysia, but he coaches clients and partners and real estate agents and teams and even brokerages in 20 different countries. So he has a very, very unique and diverse perspective on what makes real estate agents successful in this industry and is a true business leader shaping the next generation of business leaders in real estate. And we're going to be digging into all of that today. So hopefully Taco gets to share a little bit of his secret sauce with us on how to be successful in real estate regardless of where you're at. But Taco, man, thank you so much for taking some time out of your day to join us here today.
Thank you, Kobe. Really appreciate it, and congratulations on your show, of course. Right, great initiative putting this together. Good content out there for the world. So yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm really glad to have you on because you have a really unique perspective, like I mentioned earlier on the show as well when I was introducing you. Because there's a lot of real estate coaches out there, but not many that I know that coaches people in over 20 different countries. So I'm really interested to kind of really pick your brain on that. But before we do that, I would love for you to be able to share a little bit about yourself and how did you become, the successful real estate coach that you are today? How did you get your start in real estate, and what did that journey look like? And some of the things that you had to overcome.
Well, I mean, a journey is usually not told in just a few minutes, right? You have so many milestones as you move through that journey. But if you look at the most important parts, back in 2006, when I was 21 years old, I finished my studies, and then I was looking to just have a trip. You finish your studies, and I was born and raised in the Netherlands. As a young boy, I already traveled a lot because my father was a diplomat. So up to my 12 years, I was 12 when we moved back to the Netherlands because my mother really wanted us to study in the Netherlands, go to school, study there. But I already then had this international feel, right? We traveled every 4 years to a different country because my father was stationed in different countries back then. And then we came back to the Netherlands, went to school, studied. I didn't really like school, to be honest with you. It wasn't really my thing. Was just enjoying life too much. Was more of a sports guy. I really liked what they call in the US soccer, right? Or football, whatever you call it. Let's not go into that discussion. But I liked sports. I liked, hanging out with friends. And I already at the early stage kind of went into entrepreneurship because, I was just always selling anything to anyone, right? Anything I could get my hands on, I was selling to people back then already. And not knowing that that would be a career, but it just made a lot of sense. You got something, you sold to somebody, you made some money, and that made like a lot of sense. So I did a study in the Netherlands was called small business, which wasn't that interesting, to be honest with you, because it just told you a little bit about entrepreneurship, but nothing close to the reality. So when I was 21, I actually made a decision to go for traveling again because, that was kind of somewhat in my DNA. So I actually planned to go and stay in a beautiful Caribbean island called Curacao, which was then part of the Dutch Antilles. If you know Aruba and then you probably also know Curacao. It's actually just next to, it's about 70, 80 miles off the coast of Venezuela. And I was planning to go there for 10 months. And I'll tell you, Kobe, that became 10 years. It kind of change of plans, right? And the reason that I stayed there for 10 years, like in the early days, I was just, working as a waiter, just, hanging around, having fun. And then at some point, actually, I got this friend, like this is how usually 80% of people end up in real estate. I had this friend that one day approached me and he said the magic words of, do you want to make a little bit more money? I said, well, yeah, why not? Right. So, well, then why don't you just join my team? Right. I'll you'll make some money in no time. I said, wow, that sounds like a pretty good deal. Right. So I joined his team, went in, And that's the moment that basically my career changed, because I stepped into real estate. And I'll tell you, Kobe, that first year was the most disastrous, terrible year of probably my life, going into real estate. Where I thought, I was just going to sell houses, how hard could it be, right? List a house, put it on some newspaper. Back then you put it in a newspaper, and you got it sold. And wow, it was way more complicated than that, right? So basically went through all my savings in that first year. I remember vividly that I got like about $3,000 of commission in my first year, which was really terrible. And moving forward, I was like this is not going to be my business. This is not going to be my life. And luckily, I actually met my mentor, which his name was Ray, and he actually took me on this journey of really explaining me what real estate is about. We'll go a little bit deeper on that later, what that really was about, right? What the basics were that he taught me. But moving forward in 2016, after 10 years on the Caribbean, I thought like, I'm not going to stay on an island for the rest of my life. Let's explore something more. And the interesting part was that the company that I was working for on the Caribbean island was opening a license in Malaysia. And I was traveling just a year before in Malaysia, and I thought, like, why not? Let's take one more big jump, big decision in life. Let's just move to Malaysia, right? And everybody thought I was going nuts, or I had like a burn down or whatever it was. But I thought, like, listen, Asia is the future, right? There's so much happening in Asia. There's so much emerging markets. I thought like it makes a lot of sense. So moved myself to Malaysia in 2016. Now, fast forward in 2024, I went into real estate here, started also selling real estate. But one of the things that I quickly noticed is that in Asia, real estate is done in so many different ways. And one of the things that is very different are that they focus a lot on the technical skills here, but not so much on the soft skills, right? So there was a lot missing around relationship building, how to negotiate, how to build a database and nurture that database. So I thought like, maybe on the side, let me just start these little workshops, right? That I can help these agents become a little bit more successful. And I started that in 2017. And like anything that starts small and you think it's just a small gig, it just took off, right? Everybody loved the trainings. Everybody wanted to have more support. I got invited by more companies. Suddenly I got international, I got more requests, and I started to be on stages, most of Southeast Asia countries. I've been on stage in Hong Kong. I've even been on stage in the US. I've been on stage in Las Vegas last year twice, and even in Chicago. I've been in Europe. Recently, I've been on stage in Bulgaria, right? So I'm being invited anywhere where I can just share these stories with agents, right? And how they can actually build a successful career. So just stop there for a while. Like I said, it has many milestones, but that brought me from Netherlands to the Caribbean, and now fast forward here into Malaysia, and coming up to almost 9 years.
Wow. So that's quite a journey, man. I mean, I think it's pretty impressive everywhere that you've traveled. And, it's funny you mentioned that you were getting a lot of international exposure and you were actually speaking on stage in the US, in Las Vegas and Chicago as well, because if anybody has checked out some of your YouTube videos where you give out a lot of free training, they can tell the skill sets that you teach are actually very applicable to real estate agents in the US as well, right? A lot of people might think of the agents in the US as kind of having this very developed skills and they're kind of the leading edge of this industry in the world. But some of the things that you teach, right? If they didn't know you were international, they probably thought you were just a US real estate coach, because this is what US real estate coaches teach as well, which kind of brings me into my question for you, which is, you've been coaching clients in so many different countries. And what would you say are some things that you think are fundamental to real estate success, regardless of where you're at? Obviously, like you mentioned, the logistics and the technical side of real estate is different everywhere. But because you've had so much success coaching in, every continent, every country, what would you say are some things that are fundamental to success that is universal regardless of where you're at?
Well, this is a very good question. And if you really go to the basics of the basics of the basics, right? So the main thing is to keep the main thing, right? So what is really the 4% rule, I always say, right? Like the thing that I say, like put your attention there, and then you get at least half of your business running, and the other half would be like technical skills and other skills and building database and good marketing. But if you get this right, you'll get there at least halfway, I always say, right? And that is, when I'm on stage, I'm doing a training, I always ask the audience or the students, I ask like what kind of business are we really in? And you get these average or these simple answers like, yeah, we're in the people business, right? Or we're in the relationship business. And that's true, right? I don't disagree with that. But what kind of business are we really in? And I kind of always put it in as much energy I can. I always say we're in the feel good business, right? And what does that mean? Feel good business. I say we put a lot of energy towards our clients and making them feel good, because the better that they feel about your product, about you, about the journey, the more confidence they will get. The more confidence they will get, the more likely they are able to make a decision, what probably is one of the most important decisions of their lifetime. Buying a house, selling a house, investing in a property. These are key decision moments for people in real estate. I always look at two factors. I always ask the audience, listen, can we agree on something? Everybody in the world needs real estate. Then you usually get a yes. I say, okay, so we are in the business of everyone, like literally everyone, right? We're not in a business like coffee. Not everybody likes coffee, but we're in a business of everybody needs real estate. In what shape or form, they will need real estate at some point of their life. And we're also need to agree on the fact that real estate is probably one of the most expensive assets that any person will ever invest in their lifetime. And even if they don't invest or buy, even if they rent, it's probably the most expensive thing on their monthly expense chart, right? It's the most expensive thing that they spend. Part of their salary or their income goes to rental or their mortgage. It's the most expensive thing. So we're in the business of everyone, and we're in the business of the most expensive thing that people need, right? So what a great business to be in. But why is it so complicated? Because it's such a heavy decision, right? People want to make sure that they make the right decision. They want to make sure that they, have looked at all the options and have seen all the opportunities and know that this one life decision moment is going to be the right one. And you as an agent are part of that journey. So, and if you're part of the journey, you're not a tour guide. You're not a person that is just, giving numbers, facts, figures, and, showing what is a kitchen and what is a bathroom. No, I'm always just very focused in the fact, like, how do I make my clients, my prospects feel throughout their journey? Because if I can control how good they feel, the more likely they are doing a decision with me, and that I can influence them to make the right decision. What is good for them, right? The ethical part is always, you want them to make a decision that is good for them. The good for them is the ethical part, but helping them make a decision, that is your responsibility as an agent. So the fundamental part comes back to one simple fact. How good can you make your prospects feel, right? Do you have that influential power in the way you communicate, the way you ask questions, the way you build that relationship? So the relationship part is true. They say, oh, we're in a relationship business, but what does that mean, right? I have a relationship with my banker, with my lawyer. I have a relationship with so many different people, and all of them don't make me feel that good throughout the journey. An agent is different. They have to be focused from the moment you call someone, you text someone, you meet someone, your attention has to be going to the point of, how do I make this person feel? And can I build the stepping stones in helping them feel better along the way? Because once you get that confidence from your prospect, they will eventually make that decision. So a lot of agents come to me and say, well, why can I get this deal closed? Why can I get them to make a decision? Why can I get them to go to the next step? Because you didn't put enough attention to making them feel good. So we're in a feel-good business. The better you make your prospects feel, the more that they will be likely to make that decision.
Yeah, I love that. That's I've never had heard anybody say that before about real estate, right? You've heard the relationship business so much across so many different agents and so many different coaches, but the way that you described it is yes, you have a relationship with your clients, but what are you actually trying to do in this business? And you're trying to make them feel good about yourself, feel good about the decision that they're making, and feel good about the entire process as well. And regardless of how the mechanics work, the concept and the fundamental building blocks are always going to go back to that point, which is how can I do my job in a way where I'm making the person I'm working with feel better every step of the way. And would you say that's the biggest mistake you see agents make in the beginning of their careers, or if they're having a slump in their real estate careers, is that they're not focusing enough of their attention on how they're making their clients feel, but more so on how much they know about real estate or how knowledgeable they are or how much, how many calls they're making or whatever it is that agents are focusing on to try to get to that next level.
Well, again, coming back to, this is a relationship business or is a people business, it's too simple to explain that to an agent, right? Because even if you walk into a grocery store and you pay for your groceries, the person that is sitting behind the counter, the moment you have a chit chat with them, that's the moment you start a relationship already, right? Human psychology teaches us anything that encounters that, you have some form of communication, instantly there's a relationship there, right? So but the person that you're encountering with, then you have to justify what kind of relationship am I having, right? And then you have kind of two hats. Am I having a relationship? Am I looking at you as kind of a salesperson, or am I looking at you as more of a trusted advisor, trusted consultant, somebody that I can rely on, that I can trust, etc., right? So, both are relationships, right? Both are people, right? So it's too simple to just say, well, that in that relationship business, it doesn't give the deepness of what kind of relationship are we trying to build. And that is for me a big mistake. And the point you're making, what I like, and I've seen this across different countries, different agents, I've seen agents become way more successful with less knowledge of the real estate itself, but investing lots of time in their prospects in how they build the relationship, then agents that know everything, every detail of the real estate business, but have a hard time to build that trustworthy and that strong relationship, and they seem to have more problems and more issues in closing deals because they are not able to build that type of relationship with their clients. They're not able to get that feel good within their prospects and eventually their customers, right? So in the end, that is what I also struggled with my first year, right? I thought I needed to know everything about real estate, every single letter in the law, in the process. I was focusing a lot of my time into designing nice templates, those kinds of things, right? And it all didn't matter until I realized if I don't build a good relationship with the seller, and if I don't put a good impression to the next prospective buyer that comes along, I will not be able to control this deal. So the better I was able to practice on those communication skills in getting the feel good in both sides, because once I get the feel good, there's actually a three-step process, right? Number one, you need to get people to like you first. It seems so simple to say that, right? But you know that, Kobe, right? Getting people to like you is a process that needs some time and work, right? Sometimes you can get it instantly if you kind of like really set the tone right, but sometimes it needs a little bit of time to get people to like you. They need to get people to trust you. That takes a little bit more time. And definitely with people that have been burned before, or had a bad experience either in real estate or in any business that is related to sales, if they had a bad experience and you come along, trust me, you already have to, you're starting at 4-0 behind, right? If you relate it to a match of soccer, right? You have to make it equal first, and then only you can start scoring some goals and try to get, ahead of your client. So the skeptical clients, that's even more difficult. So that needs more trust, connection, the feel good has to come in. And then only you are going to present yourself as an expert. And it kind of comes together. But if you come from a position from the first moment to your clients, like I'm the expert, and they don't like you and they don't trust you, you can be the best expert in the world. People will not buy from you, right? So that's why I say it needs to be like, trust, and then the expert, right? Because then you have that so-called feel good with your clients, in where you align with them, you're able to communicate with them, you're able to click with them. And from then the journey becomes actually so much more pleasant from both sides, because then you kind of don't really feel like, oh, I'm the salesperson, you are the client, I need to get a product across to you, you need to, no, then it becomes more conversational. Okay, let's discuss this. What do you like about this property? What do you don't like about this property? Would this be something you would like to invest in? If it wouldn't be your investment, what are things about this property you would want to remove, so it becomes the perfect property? It becomes conversational, and it makes your prospect so much more enjoy the journey, if you will, right? It makes them feel like they're not being sold to, but they have like a partner that's helping them to buy something. And from the seller's perspective, the same, right? It helps your sellers to really see, okay, I got somebody that is really putting my interest first and taking care of the facts that I want to get as much as possible out of this transaction in the most, ethical way. So focus on the feel good.
Yeah, I love that you're saying that because, I think for a lot of salespeople in real estate and other industries as well, some of them may not want to admit this, but I think that the most horrible feeling you have as a salesperson is the feeling that you're chasing somebody that wants nothing to do with you, right? Just you're constantly chasing after them. You're showing them or at least you're attempting to show them your value, and then they're not really responsive. Maybe they're here or there, or just don't really want you're just not really feeling that click, right? You're not feeling that back and forth. And it really goes back to kind of everything that you said, which is people they don't care how much you know unless they know how much you care, right? How much you can actually make them feel better. So I think that's such a great point. And I'm sure you could touch on that as well. Is that what you're seeing from the agents and the teams that you're coaching as well? Is that something that after they've kind of applied this, there's less chasing and more of, like you said, a partnership, a conversational tone between the relationship, and then that makes the actual process much more enjoyable, which is hopefully what everybody's aiming for, as well as obviously sales success.
Yeah, it's very true. And again, we're in the business of real estate, which means that for most people on this beautiful planet, a real estate transaction doesn't come that often in during their lifetime. Most people buy maybe 2-3 times of their life. Actually, most people, if you really look at the data, most people will never do a transaction in their lifetime, right? It's not for everyone globally, but hopefully you can buy at least your house once, you can sell it at least once, right? And then during that life cycle, you have to be there at the right place at the right time. So in that journey, you need to think of, okay, based on everyone I know from my whole database, how can I make sure that I can be there at the right place at the right time? Well, that means that I have to jump in multiple times and come from a conversational perspective, right? Not from a chasing perspective, as you mentioned it very nicely. I mean, the chasing is there, but the chasing is an internal process, right? It's not something that can be felt by the prospect. So you have a very vigilant process where you have your nurturing process of your full database, that you have your warm database, that you have your close clients that that will make a decision anytime soon. And based on that, you monitor very closely in, okay, how frequently do I need to follow up with these people? That is the internal process, which you can relate to chasing. I just call it, professionally nurturing, your database according to the data that you receive back from it. So you know what the next steps are going to be. But once you engage with the prospect, then you will be basically coming from a conversational point, right? Because I'm focusing to get this person to like me first. And I want them to trust me, right? And then I want them to recognize me as the expert, because then I know they will be comfortable enough to make a decision with me. So from that point, I think there's a lot of work that needs to be done across the world when it comes to salespeople in general, but let's focus on real estate for now. And we fall under the category of salespeople that comes from, okay, sales has everything to do with that we need to hit certain emotional marks for people to be comfortable enough to make that decision. So how do we get to that position is obviously that emotion we can influence by the way how we communicate, how we listen, how we position ourselves, how we can uplift our credibility. And because of that, people will feel good about it. And from there, we need to see that okay, when are these people ready to make a decision? Are they able to make a decision now? No, they need more time. Okay, why do they need more time? What is holding their back? Can we help them in that process to overcome that objection or the issue or the worry or whatever it is, right? Can we comfort them? That is the expertise that you bring in as a real estate professional. And then from that point, once they make a decision, are you going to make sure that as they make the decision, that after the decision, they still feel good about the process? Because especially here in Asia, how many times does it happen that you actually get people to kind of the finishing line, they make that decision and people say, okay, let's do it. They sign the booking form, right? And 2 days later, they get a call. Yeah, you know what? I thought about it again. I don't think this is a good idea. We want to pull back again. And you're like, what? What happened? I mean, we were just doing like this amazing conversation. You said yes. I said yes. We signed the deal. And now you basically want to pull back again. What happened? Well, what happened is that the little devil voice came into their heads and it became of an influence, right? So now you as an agent have to step back in again and manage to feel good again because they need to get back into that emotional state where the decision was a good thing. And now the logical mind is kicking in. So now you have to also help the logical mind make that the same decision that everything is going to be okay. So it's a beautiful journey, but I cannot emphasize enough how important it is where the agent has to communicate from a perspective of, okay, I need to make sure you feel good. I need to make sure that what I sell to you makes a lot of sense to you. And as we make the decision and as we help you through the process of negotiations, signing the contract, and all the after sales that comes after that, is just a very pleasant experience. And if we hit any bumps along the road, I will make sure that I'm going to support you in the best possible way to overcome those bumps, right? And I think then you can build a beautiful career in this business, right? If you are able to manage that, set those expectations, be always practicing your communication skills, you're going to do great.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love how universal those pieces of advice are, right? Anybody can apply them regardless of where they're at, because, like you said, a lot of the fundamental building blocks are actually universal as well. So, let's get into a little bit more on the practical side of what it takes to make your clients feel good, right? What are some things that you feel that agents need to be learning, again, regardless of where they're at, as far as fundamental skill sets that can actually help them build towards being better at managing emotions with clients, not just like you mentioned at the beginning of the interaction, but all the way through the entire process until closing, and then even after closing as well, because the clients could be sending you referrals and staying in touch with you and bring you new business as well. So what are some fundamental skills that agents should be developing, and that some skills that you guys are teaching to your clients as well?
Okay. It's a very good question, and I can go to many different skills, and there's of course a whole list of skill development that you go through and you kind of optimize it along the way. But if I would to pick one that I say is kind of the most crucial skill that would make a huge difference for your clients is asking questions, right? The how you ask questions and specific. So it's about what questions you ask, more particularly in how you ask those questions that can make a very huge difference. So I give you a small example. You're in the United States, so and I'm here in Malaysia in Asia. Let me tell you what if I look at 90% of the agents here in Malaysia, what probably their first question is for any client inquiry they get. Let's say they get a potential prospect that wants to buy something. Let me tell you what their first question is. And they will send this question either through a WhatsApp or SMS, or they will give a call. And this would be their first question. The question would be, what's your budget? So is it a good question? Yeah, it's a good question. Was it asked in the right way? I don't think so. Did it come at the right time? I definitely don't think so. If that's your first question, you're positioning yourself as the ultimate salesperson, and that is exactly the person that your prospect didn't want to deal with, right? So from a technical point, you're asking the right question, right? What's your budget? But from a point of getting you to like me first, let's build some trust together first, and then let's see if I can be the expert that you're looking for, then it's a terrible question, right? It's the worst question you can ask from the start. But agents always ask me, yeah, but they sent the inquiry, right? They want to know more, right? They're looking for real estate, right? Then it's normal that I ask this question and say yes, but they were not looking for the next cheesy salesperson. They were looking for the trusted advisor. So what questions you ask at the beginning, at the middle, at the end of the whole sales process is very important in understanding that kind of the journey for your prospect in building that people like you, that trust and that expertise. So from the beginning, when you start engaging with your client, what are some of the open questions that you can start asking? And I use this model that I call is it's called attract, connect, deliver, repeat. So it's attract. Attract is how do you attract this client towards you, right? How do you get this prospect to be attracted to you on a professional level, right? That they say, this is my guy, this is my agent, this is the person that I, seem to be that knows what he's doing, right? And you can build that so-called reputation on social media. So you have this brand going on, right? That goes a long way. But I can tell you, I've seen agents build great brands on social media, and then they meet their prospect for the first time, and then the first words out of their mouth kind of destroys the whole brand that they were trying to build online because they were not able to get a conversation starting with their prospects, right? It kind of killed the momentum, and now the client is again like, oh, it's just another salesperson. Let's look around for somebody else. So it's about how do you attract? Attract is all about how do you show interest to your client? It's like dating, right? You go into a bar and you just don't only start talking about yourself. Like, hey, go be like, listen, hey, let me just talk about myself all the time, right? This is who I am. This is what I do. I don't really have an interest for you, but this is who, this is how professional I am. This is my degrees. This is my this is my that. And you're going to be like, oh, this guy is so super lame, right? Why am I even still listening with him? Do you mind if I go to the bathroom right now and never come back again? So that is kind of the situation that you're similar doing as an agent. Like, let me just talk about myself. No. The first 10, 15 questions out of your mouth should be questions in terms of showing interest to your client of who they are, what do they want, what's their journey like, what's their experience like, et cetera, et cetera. And then it's all about, okay, how do we connect deeper, right? So understand you on a deeper level. You attract them, now you connect with them. Connecting is all about trust building. Like, okay, so what are we looking for, right? What is the perfect scenario that we want to get out of this, right? What is it that we want to, what are the decision factors for you, right? Are there any other decision makers in the process, right? Et cetera, et cetera. So you kind of connect on a deeper level with the customer. And then you have deliver. So deliver is all about, okay, now it's your turn. Now it's your turn as the agent to deliver to them who you are, what you do. Actually, it's like why you do what you do, how you do it, and then what is the next steps. Usually in that order. So why you do what you do is like kind of showing to your customer, like, listen, I'm not just an agent. I do this because I believe this. I believe that people should get better returns for their investments. I believe that first-time home buyers should have an easier process for their first property. I believe that people should have better advice on their property decision. So your clients know, okay, this is not only for you about the commission, you are actually with a deeper purpose in this business. You want to understand your customers better. How you do it is just explaining them the basics of the process. Like, okay, Mr. Kobe, if I can just ask you, have you ever bought a property before? No. So do you have any understanding how the process of a property, the buying a property process goes? No. Would you mind if I quickly explain in very short, simple steps? Yes. Okay. Well, it goes like this, this, and this. Do you have any questions? No. Okay. So these are the next steps. Step 1, 2, 3. This is what we're going to do. Is that okay for you? Okay, that's okay. So now I deliver it kind of a simple process to them. And then you repeat that process again. So it's attract, connect, deliver, repeat. And throughout that process, it's questions, 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 questions. If you ask me, how do you close a deal? It's just a series of questions that increases the desirability of your clients in owning a property that you're offering, right? In helping them to make a decision that is good for them, right? So it starts with asking a series of questions. You're just setting up a list of questions, and through the questions, at some point, you will ask such a good question that will help you to close the deal. So I say this all the time to our students, right? They say, oh, I cannot get the deal closed. And then I always say, well, it's because you didn't ask the right question yet. You need to find the right question. If you find the right question, you know how to close the deal. But they say, well, how do I find the right question? I say, well, by asking a lot of questions. At some point, they will give you a piece of information. They will give you a piece of issue, problem, concern, obstacle, that if you can overcome that in a moment, that's the moment you can close the deal. So they're like, okay, that's great. So once I see agents practice asking those questions from the initial part, conversational, getting into interest, getting to know you better, to more detailed, getting to know what you're looking for, what you want, to more solution questions. Okay, how do we solve this? How do you solve that? Somewhere in that journey, you are able to get so close to your customer that they see you as the trusted advisor, and then you are able to basically just close the deal for them. So for me, that's the key skill, if you would ask me, right? Just practice asking questions. Have a whole list of questions ready for every customer you meet on that journey. And it sounds so simple, right, Kobe? You say like, that's it? Well, be my guest, walk into any store, walk into any, I don't know, bank, walk into any, I don't know, go meet an insurance agent, go meet people that actually sell stuff, right? And go see how many questions they actually ask, right? Because you will see it's not that many, right? They don't put that much effort in really to get to know you. But once you become that person really invested in your clients and understanding from what point they are, what are their concerns, and the deeper you know them, the more background you have, then you will see how easy it is to actually close that deal. Because you have now so much ammunition, right, to fire back to them. You have so much information about them that you can use to basically help them overcome those issues, those problems, those concerns, those obstacles, right? Those wishes, those desires. You know all of them. Why? Because you asked a lot of questions. You have that information. So suddenly it becomes very easy because you have everything you need to actually know how to close this deal. So if you don't have that information, you simply didn't ask enough questions. Questions will lead you to the road of closing any deal you want.
Be genuinely curious, right? I think that is so important as well. You have to be genuinely curious in your clients. What do they want? What do they don't want? What do they like? What is their current knowledge, right? It's so funny because in the US, I think it's the same way. The first question for agents working specifically with buyers is, what's your budget, right? Especially if it's an incoming inquiry. That's still the most common question for agents in the US. And it's really important that you were talking about asking questions and taking a more consultative approach, because from my understanding, internationally outside of the United States, working with buyers is, it takes just the same amount of effort as working with sellers. But in the past in the US, it was a little bit different. Working with buyers it's just sort of been, you're the tour guide and you kind of get away with it. But recently with, I don't know if you heard, but with the NAR lawsuits and settlements and changes, now US based agents are going to have to learn that skill set as well if they want to be just as successful working with buyers. But I love that you mentioned asking questions. It's such a simple skill. Anybody can go out there and try to learn it, but like you mentioned, not not all the salespeople, the majority of salespeople are not doing it, or if they're
No.
trying, they're not doing it correctly.
And and here's the thing, right? Just to add to that, because I think you made such a good point there, Kobe, right? The thing is, the trap is, like, even for myself, I'm guilty of this. If you become really a specialist in what you do, like in the real estate, right? You know how to tell a lot about an area, right? About a market, about a property. If you know how to tell a lot about it, we tend to quickly go into presenting mode, right? Into, okay, let me just tell you a lot of everything I know about this property, right? Because then you will be impressed. No, they won't. Because in the end, you're just shooting kind of bullets in the dark. You don't know what you're hitting. So in the end, you're just, just throwing stuff out there, hoping that something would hook. And then they would be like, oh, wow, great. I didn't know about this property. Let me buy it, right? Never happens, right? So in the end, it's actually always, I have to go back and remind myself, oh, wait, I forgot to start asking questions, right? I'm just going into presenting mode. I need to go back to the client and start asking again about, okay, so in terms of kitchens, okay, so you have a family of 4, 2 adults, 2 children. You're looking for a quite sizable kitchen. Am I correct, right? What kind of kitchen are we looking at the moment? Are you looking with an island? Are you looking, okay, great. So that is something that has to be in the property. Yes, has to be. Okay, great. So let's work towards that. That kind of takes away these 2 properties. They don't have that. Or is that a deal breaker? Or is that still something you would like to consider? You see, once you go into that, people know, like, okay, he's busy with me. He's not busy with himself or herself in this matter. And another point that I just wanted to add on, let me ask you this, Kobe. It's not a trick question, but just still asking you. If you ask somebody for their budget, so you ask them, what's your budget? Will they tell you the truth?
Not all the time.
Well, most of the time, no. Why not? Why are they not telling you the truth? Asking them a straightforward question, right? You say, hey, what's your budget? What are they telling you?
Yeah, they're usually telling you something as far as what they understand. A lot of times the clients, they don't even understand what their budget is or how that works. So
Yes.
sometimes they want to look at things that are more out of their price range as well. So there's a
Yes.
variety of different reasons from what we've seen, but yeah, you're right, not all the time. It's not.
So we know this, right? As agents, we know it. You know this. Every agent, even if they have been in the business for 2 months, and I ask them, if you ask the question for a budget, will your prospects tell the truth? And 9 out of 10 times people say no, they won't tell the truth. So why ask the question in the first place if you know they're not going to tell the truth? Yeah, but we have to kind of get a benchmark. We got to get a number. So no, you have to give them the budget because you're the specialist. So based on the neighborhood that they're looking for, the amount of bedrooms, the kind of sizes, what they're looking for, when you collect that information, your answer to that should be, okay, so Gobi, I understand you're looking for this area, 3-bedroom, with this type of property, not too old. You're looking at something not older than 10 years, et cetera, et cetera. So Kobe, you are looking at around a budget about $650,000 to $725,000. Is that something that you're comfortable with in as a budget to move forward based on the requirements you're looking for? Yeah, seems about right. Okay, now we are aligned. Right now, I position myself as a specialist based on the requirement. But if I come to you like, what's your budget? You're like, oh damn, and now he's asking for my budget. Okay, let's aim low, right? Because I don't want to spend like I'm here, but let's give him this because then we still have room. So we already start with a misalignment in that conversation with a very simple question: is what is your budget? So I teach the real senior pros that are under my coaching program. So never ask for a budget. Give them a budget. Give them the budget, right? Once you give them the budget, you control that conversation based on your agent expectations of what you know of the market. And then they would want to align with you rather than you have to align with them. So it's a different perspective. It's like these little tricks and different ways of approach that gives you an alignment quicker with your customers and helping them move faster in that decision-making process.
Right, absolutely. And a lot of times when it comes down to making your clients feel good, it's not necessarily about the budget or the price, right? It's about what they're looking for. And then if you are the specialist, you can give them not necessarily perfect, but that budget that they're really looking for something in that specific neighborhood, a specific type of home or condo, right? Whatever it is they're looking at, then that's really how you make somebody feel good. If you come just in the very beginning with what's your budget, then it really just becomes a very transactional type of relationship. And there's really no value in that, right? Because especially with technology these days, if you're just asking for a budget, people can find that on most property portals internationally or here in the US, the MLS.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So the end point is always interesting. This universal question is, why do we need the agent?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Why do we need them, right? We can go out there, buy property ourselves, right? We can go out there and basically, I mean, I know this whole NAR, issue and everything, brings back the question of, do we really need seller agents, buyer agents, right? Do we really need two representatives on both sides? I mean, again, I do business in 21 countries, and US is very unique in that matter, where we really kind of make it a common way of process, where really the seller and the buyer have their own representative in that process. But there's so many countries, I can tell you, Kobe, where I work, where everything is done just by one agent, right? Where the seller and the buyer are going through the same agent that is negotiated that way. And I know in the US it also happens, but again, we kind of practice like, okay, you need your side, I need my side, so we're represented in the same way. However, the point is, why do we need one agent in the first place, right? I mean, the data is there, the properties are online, I can go there and make a call, I can see the property. Why do we need them in the first place? And I still believe that the data shows that around, I think it's little less than 90% of all transactions in the United States are still done through an agent. It's because we still need that person that is backing us up in that decision-making process. Are we making the right decision here, right? Did we go through all the options, right? Have we seen all the risk? Have we understood all of the points we have to go through before we make this life-changing decision? And that's why we need a trustworthy agent, because he will, or she, of course, will help us in that whole process and make sure that we have covered all angles before we make this more important decision. We still need that partner. We still need that advisor, consultant, whatever you want to call it. Hopefully not that transactional salesperson, because when that feeling comes up with a customer or prospect, then it's like, oh, now it's just transactional. Now you're just in here for the money. That's not really my gain, right? My gain is like, okay, I'm working with Kobe. Kobe, can you tell me, am I making the right decision here? Did I look at every angle that I should be looking at before I go into this? I'm going to be probably living here for the next 10, 20, 30 years, whatever it is. But is this the right decision? And that's where Kobe is going to say, Taco, we've been looking at a few properties. I know you're a little bit better right now. After asking so many questions, I think this should be the place. Okay, great. Let's do it then, right? So if you can get to that point of the relationship, right, with all of your prospects, well, you're going to make a lot of money in this business.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, Taco, man, thank you so much for joining us here today. You share so much value with us, and to know, not to my surprise, if you will, because you have so much experience coaching agents in so many different places. For our audience out there who is watching this or listening to this that want to know more about what you're doing, maybe you want to learn more about your coaching program, or want to just go check out some of your free content that you're posting on your social media, your YouTube channels. What are some things that are coming up for your coaching company? What are some things that are coming up in your business and in your life, and where can people find you here after watching this show if they want to learn more about what you do and educate themselves more on becoming a better agent?
Very good, very good. Thank you for that opportunity. One thing that I can say, are we recorded only on audio, or is this also on video?
Also on video.
Oh, great. So one thing I have this very cool book. It's called Knock Knock Who's There, as you can see it. It's a very small book. I'll send you a copy as well, Kobe. It's a very short book. So you see how thin it is, right? So this is how fast you can learn real estate, right? Doesn't have to be a thick book. It's a very easy book. So all the lessons I've learned in real estate, everything is in there. If people want to have a copy of the book, I give it away for free, the digital copy. They just have to send me a message on my Instagram. So they just go to coach.taco on Instagram, follow me, send me a message like, hey, Taco, listen to the podcast with Kobe. Great. can I get a copy of your book? And they will get the link right away, and they can have a lot of reading pleasure from that. Next to that, please follow the YouTube channel, right? With a lot of free content there. Just go to my name, Taco Heidinga, and then they will find it on YouTube. And then they can also go to our website, you know, to Propcoach. We have different kinds of programs in which they can look for more junior, senior agents, or even for leaders, people that recruit a lot of agents either in their local market or globally. We do a lot of programs there. So yeah, I think if that's the best way to reach out. Of course, I'm also on TikTok, right, where they can find me on Taco. They can just type me in there if they want to see a little bit about my Asia life. And of course, on all the Facebooks and LinkedIn, you just type my name and you'll definitely be able to find me there. But if you want to book and you want to have it quick, and you want a quick answer, just go to Instagram, coach.taco, and I'm happy to send you a copy of that as well.
Awesome. That's very generous of you, man. And we'll make sure to leave the links to all of your social medias and your website in the description in the show notes down below this video. So that way people can find you easily. But Taco, man, thank you again for being on the show. Before we let you go, is there any last pieces of advice, any last tips you would like to leave with the audience here before I let you sign off?
Any last advice? You know, I think one of the most important pieces of advice that I got, if it really relates to real estate, that I got from Ray when I was doing real estate myself and I was building my career. As you grow your career, you win deals, but you also lose deals. And losing these deals are such important parts of your journey, right? And some of losing these deals are very painful experiences, usually, and even when high commissions are involved, right? So always remember this: the higher you lose, the more you have invested back into your career in stretching your ability to do even more. And what I try to mean to say with that is that I once lost like a $22 million resort deal, and it was such a painful experience. But that commission that never came to me, I used that in my mindset as an investment, that I even grow as a bigger expert in this market, that I was able to, you know, be able to grab something so big. I was willing to lose it. And because I lost it, I only made me stronger. It made me more knowledgeable. It made me understand the experience even better. And from there onwards, deals just came in easier. So win a lot. You know what they say, you know, get down 7 times, get back up 8 times, right? And in the end, it is a journey of getting back up a lot of times, right? So keep getting back up and really learn of those moments that you lost a commission or a deal, and take them in as the investment of building even a better career. And that's the best advice I could give.
Yep. Absolutely, man. That's some really, really good advice. I think a lot of people wanted to hear that or needed to hear that. But Taco, thanks again for being on the show. Thank you all for tuning in, and we will see you on the next show. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you.